Hello guys, welcome back to another deck profile. Before we start, I want to let you know that there are timestamps below for every card mentioned. In the video description, you can find the written deck list as well. There is also a timestamp for the picture of the entire deck if you just wanted to take a look at that. However, I encourage you to watch through the profile, especially if you're a new player or interested in learning the deck, since I will go through the purpose of each card and how the deck interacts within itself. This event took place in Arizona. Shout out to Jesse James Comics for hosting the event. This was a PPG Invitational Qualifier composed of 5 best-of-3 Swiss rounds. Real quick, I'll go over my opponents. So round 1, I played Daniel Dalby, who topped at Nats this year. He played Icarus, and I won that one 2-0. Round 2 was against King Cold, and I won 2-0. Round 3 was Yellow Gotenks, I won that 2-1. And round 4 was against King Piccolo, which I won 2-0. The final round was against Nationals runner-up Jared Lopez and his Android 16 deck, and I managed to win that 2-1. With that being said, let's go into the deck profile. So starting things off with Syn Shenron, the leader. Auto, when this card attacks, look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, add up to 1 Shadow Dragon card among them to your hand, then shuffle your deck. The other auto says, at the end of your turn, choose up to 1 yellow Shadow Dragon in your battle area and switch it to active mode. Awaken when our life's at 3 or less, or we have a Unison with a specified cost of 4 in play. We draw 2 cards, switch one of our energy to active mode, and flip this card over. On this side, we have Syn Shenron Negative Energy Overflow. When this card attacks, draw 1 card. And the other auto, at the end of your turn, choose all yellow Shadow Dragon cards in your battle area and switch them to active mode. We are talking about 30k attackers and a couple double strikers that basically all happen to be blockers and retain that blocking skill for the next turn since they get to switch back to active mode by the leader, or if anything, they're at least combo power. With that being said, it's still not the best ability on this card. That belongs to the Activate main. Tap 6 yellow energies to play up to 7 Shadow Dragon cards with different card names from your drop area. This ensures that all your defenses pay off by turn 6 and really puts your opponent on a timer. By this point in the game, it's hard to lose unless you get greedy or overconfident, as it's not always wise to tap all 6 as soon as you get there. Just keep ensuring your win by keeping control of the game, whether that's by tapping 6 and playing the 7 dragons or not. Nevertheless, arguably the best leader skill in the game. Now let's get into the core of the deck, starting with the Negative Energy 1-star ball. This is the most important card to find on turn 1. We have a couple tech options to help us find this card because you have to have it by the end of your first turn, otherwise things will get a little sloppy for you and it will be a little harder for you to awaken on turn 4 like we would want to. Once this card hits the board, it's very safe because it cannot be affected by your opponent's skills, and also the Activate main is very important to this deck as it searches out your chain. Next up, we have Eis Shenron, the Anemancer. This card is arguably even better, especially if you go first, because Activate main says for 1 yellow energy, you get to discard it from your hand and search your deck for 1 negative energy 1-star ball and play it in your battle area with the skills negated for the turn. This is a great turn 1 play because it's going to filter your deck a little bit, as well as get the job done in getting the 1-star ball. So not only is it the best turn 1 play of going first, it also is great for future plays, because you can get him back from the drop area with Nuova Shenron and then use it as an attacker and use it as a sacrifice for the allies absorb Syn Shenron. Make sure to mulligan hard for Eis Shenron or Negative Energy 1-star ball because you're going to absolutely need it for turn 1. Next up, we have 4-cost Syn Shenron Shadow Dragon Leader. This guy's amazing because when he is played from the 1-star ball into the battle area, he gets to choose either an opponent's battle card in rest mode, energy cost 4 or less, or a leader in rest mode, and it cannot attack the following turn. That skill by itself is enough to keep momentum of the game going your way because it's so controlling of your opponents being able to awaken or draw cards. He also comes with the blocker skill, and when he is removed from your battle area by your opponent's skills, you get to play the Negative Energy 1-star ball back into your battle area and draw a card. This will be your turn 2 play 100% of the time. Believe it or not, it gets even better for us. The next target would be Syn Shenron Destructive Incarnate, the 9-cost Syn. This is the evolved target of the 4-cost Syn Shenron, and it is by far the most oppressive card in Dragon Ball card game. For 1 energy, you get to EX evolve on top of the 4-cost Syn Shenron, and he is a 30k blocker with revenge that when it is KO'd or removed from the battle area by an opponent's skill, you get to play a 1-star energy Dragon Ball from your drop area to the battlefield, and you get to draw 2 cards. As if that wasn't enough, he also has an auto that when the opponent plays a battle card, you may choose that battle card, ignoring barrier and negate its skills for the turn. So if they're playing a double striker or something that like Thornton the Dark Empire that swings and warps one of your battle cards, all those skills are going to be neutralized as soon as they hit the battle area. Notice that it ignores barrier and it is not once per turn. So you can keep doing this as many cards as they keep playing. Also, it is not unique, so feel free to have multiple of these in the battle area. Moving on, before they decide to give it more skills, we have Oceanus Shenron, the Anemancer. This is the most resourceful card in your deck. It has the active main ability that you burst a card from the top of your deck and discard this card from your hand. You get to search the top 5 cards of your deck and add up to 1 mono yellow Shadow Dragon with an energy cost of 8 or less among them to your hand, and then you shuffle your deck. This is huge for Syn Shenron because it allows you to search, especially on turn 1, your negative energy 1-star ball or your Eis Shenrons if you don't have them yet. It gives you like a little extra chance to get them. And also it's going to be huge once it's in the discard pile for your Syn Shenron allies absorb to copy the skill. And the skill that you would want to trigger most of the time is Barrier Blocker. But also when this card attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch to rest mode. If the card you switch to rest mode has an energy cost of 2 or less, you KO it. So this would be great on the allies absorb like I mentioned, because that's the one that you want to use as offense. And Oceanus belongs in the discard pile to be used by him. Now we go into the most defensive unison in the game, Mechikabura Plotting Revival. This unison has the blocker keyword skill and also has an auto once per turn. When this card loses a marker due to an opponent's attack, choose up to one of your opponent's cards and switch it to rest mode. Notice that it says cards, meaning it can be a leader, a unison, an energy, and just switch it to rest mode. That can be very punishing for many decks. And that's not even getting into the +1 activate main on him to draw 1 card, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and that card cannot be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. This card is really good for keeping things like thwarting the Dark Empire from restanding, therefore from doing anything the rest of the game, specifically because that card has unique, or even cards like Zamasu, Deity's Wrath. They will never be able to restand, attack, and take a card off your hand. The cool thing about this unison is also that it has a -4 activate main. What the -4 does is to choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, gain control of it, and switch it to active mode. This could be a game changer because you can swing with Meki. You can then -4 to take a card with example like a dual attack double striker or whatever boss monster they tried finishing you off with last turn. Well, now you can get control of that boss monster and finish them off with it. Next up, we have another resourceful card in this deck in Nuova Shenron Flameshot Unleashed. This card comes out for 1 energy as long as you have 1 Shadow Dragon on the battle area, and he is unique. However, he uses himself in rest mode to resurrect either Eis Shenron or surprise attack Naturon Shenron, which we'll get into in a bit. This is the main focal point of this card. When you do switch into rest mode to resurrect a dragon, you have to burst 2 cards from the top of your deck, which is actually very useful because you want to have as many dragons in your drop area as possible for when you get to that turn 6 or when you want to play Omega Shenron, which is your triple striker. Next up, we have the most overperforming card of the day, which is Surprise Attack Naturon Shenron. This 3-drop dragon is able to be resurrected by Nuova Shenron. The auto on this card is insane. It's basically a Putine, except with its own little standards. This auto says if your leader card is yellow, when your opponent plays a battle card or a unison card, you may choose that card and switch it to rest mode. If you do, negate the skill for the turn. So this is slightly different, however it might even be stronger sometimes because the card being played has to be the target card. However, this also triggers on unisons. And you don't have to trigger it when the card is played, unlike Putine. This guy can trigger whenever you want it to trigger. So you can wait, for example, for them playing that Boo Unison instead of having to trigger the effect when they play any card. And of course, who better to pair this with than Putine herself, the Dark Sorcerer. This card is amazing, especially when you can have another card that rests just like her. So this card does have barrier, and the auto reads, if your leader card is yellow, when an opponent card is switched to rest mode by one of your card skills, you may play this card from your hand. In this deck, we have a few ways to make that happen, whether it's by swinging with Allies Absorbed, swinging with Oceanus, using a power up a Super Saiyan, or by having Naturon Shenron on the battle area and him forcing to rest a card. That will all trigger Putine the Dark Sorcerer to come out and do the exact same thing, which is auto once per turn when your opponent plays a battle card using a skill, or activate the counter skill, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and switch it to rest mode. As you can see, there's slight differences between her and Naturon Shenron. However, when you put them together, it basically becomes chaos for your opponent. Now we're going to jump into a little bit of offense, which is this 8-drop Omega Shenron Allies Absorbed. Although he is a very defensive card still, he is what triggers the offense in this deck. So he is a unique, and for 1 energy, you may choose 1 mono yellow Shadow Dragon with an energy cost of 4 or less in your battle area and place it in its owner's drop area. Draw 1 card, then play this card from your hand. So this is where Eis Shenron comes in clutch, because you can use him as a sacrifice. You can even also use Nuova Shenron as sacrifice if need be. When he does get played, he can use his activate main, which is once per turn. If your leader card is a yellow Shadow Dragon card and you send 1 mono yellow Shadow Dragon with an energy cost between 2 and 4 that isn't a Syn Shenron card from your drop area to its owner's warp, you may add 1 card from your life to your hand, and this card gains the skills of the card you chose until the end of your opponent's next turn. Realistically speaking, unless she's not in your drop area, the 1 card you're going to copy is going to be Oceanus Shenron. She's going to be the one that gives you barrier and blocker, and also when you swing, you're going to be able to put a card in rest mode, triggering both Naturon Shenron and Putine, and also you're going to be able to KO a card that you did put in rest mode. So it's going to be board removal, it's going to be a 30k swing, and also a barrier blocker for your next turn. So definitely want to copy Oceanus unless she's not in your drop area. Next up, we have Oceanus Shenron Swift Spirals. This card is mostly going to be used for the auto burst 1 if your leader card is a Shadow Dragon card and it's your opponent's turn. When this card is used in a combo from your hand, choose up to 1 Shadow Dragon card in your battle area and switch it to active mode. This will let your 9-drop or your 8-drop act as dual blockers, and remember the 9-drop Shenron does have revenge, so you could potentially KO up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards. Ignoring barrier also, because revenge goes through barrier, and having your allies absorbed take over dual attack as a 30k isn't always a bad idea either. Alright, so now we have another dragon in Haze Shenron Venomous Mist. This card is going to act for this deck as a pseudo Vegeta's Final Flash or Dragon's Thunder. I say that because the auto reads if your leader card is a Shadow Dragon card and you choose 1 Shadow Dragon card in your hand and discard it. When this card attacks or is used in a combo, choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode with an energy cost greater than the current energy and KO it. This means that usually when your opponent goes all in with their hand with a boss monster that has more energy than what they currently have, this is an easy answer to them, because all you have to do is combo with this card, discard 1 Shadow Dragon from your hand, and you KO that card. Okay, now we're going to go into the most powerful generic yellow card, which is the Power of Super Saiyan. This card serves the same purpose as in any other generic yellow deck. What it does is it can be used for 1 energy as a counter attack to negate the attack, or it can also be used for its activate battle, which reads if your leader card is mono yellow, draw 1 card, then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards or unison cards and switch to rest mode. As I just mentioned, you're essentially using this card to put a card into rest mode. That way your Putine activate main triggers and gets played. And on top of that, you can also use it during combo steps to put any card that you might think is a threat, like a unison or a big battle card, and put it in rest mode so you don't have to deal with it. Now going into the only other extra card I run in this deck, which is Forbidden Power. I chose to play Forbidden Power over Nimbus because we'll read over the card real quick. Counter attack for 1 energy. If your leader card is yellow, your opponent can only attack with battle cards 1 more time for the turn. If you notice there, that does not say that the first attack is negated. So that's a critical point in which why I ran this card over Nimbus. And then the activate battle reads if your leader card is yellow and it's your turn, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and switch it to rest mode. Then choose up to 1 of your yellow cards and it gets plus 10,000 power for the battle. With that being said, the reasons why I favored this counter attack over Nimbus is because 1, I don't have to pitch a card from hand to activate it. Also, I don't have to worry about it being a dead card in my hand because this Forbidden Power has an activate battle that I can use. And going back to the counter attack skill, I have so many blockers on the field by the time I use Forbidden Power that the first swing is not really going through my leader. It's going to be going towards Mechikabura. which I can then use to either rest an energy, rest their leader, or rest their unison. Of course, you combine that with the powers of the power up a Super Saiyan, or a Cheelai super combo, or the blue-yellow Zamasu super combo, and you can do so many things during that combo stage that I prefer this card over Nimbus. The next two cards are one-ofs in the deck, starting with this 3-cost Syn Shenron Harbinger of Ruin. This card has Deflect, and an active main that reads, once per turn, choose one of your cards in rest mode and place it in its owner's drop area. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's cards and switch to rest mode. Typically, this card will be played turn 5 or turn 6 via your leader's activate main skill. Best case scenario for this card is that you already tapped down one of your opponent's energy via the Mechikabura Unison, and now during your turn, you're going to use this Syn Shenron Harbinger of Ruin to KO either your Eis Shenron or Naturon Shenron that you already attacked with, tap down the last energy that's open, and apply the most pressure you can possibly do before you get to that turn 6. Now we go into our other one-of, which is the 4-cost Syn Shenron Negative Energy Explosion. This is a black Syn Shenron Xeno. What he does is he has Deflect, Double Strike, Barrier, and Blocker. And the active main or slash battle says once per turn, Spirit Boost 1, switch this card to active mode, and your opponent places a top card of their deck in your drop area. This is an amazing card in some matchups. Something like Blue struggles against this card, because he is essentially what we use to take down the Blue Unison. We have Deflect so they can't hit it with God Sealing, and also he has Barrier so they can't bottom deck it with their Bull ability. Also, he has a Double Striker 20k, which hits random money for that Unison. And also, he does get to restand with the Spirit Boost 1. And since we play a pretty defensive deck, our Meki will have multiple markers on it, so Spirit Boost 1 is no big deal, and he gets to restand and serve as a dual attack against Blue especially. Just keep a note that he does not restand at the end of the turn because he is not a mono yellow Shadow Dragon. However, you can use him as a summon from the leader's backside activate main to tap 6 energy and play up to 7 Shadow Dragons. He is a Shadow Dragon, so he is a viable target. The last Shadow Dragon in this deck is this 8-cost Omega Shenron, the Ultimate Shadow Dragon. This card is our game finisher. He is unique, triple strike, 30k, with an activate main that says for 1 yellow energy, if your leader card is a Shadow Dragon card, you have 3 or more energy and you send 7 mono yellow Shadow Dragon cards from your drop area to your warp. You draw 1 card and play this card from your hand. Not only is this card an absolute game finisher because for 1 energy you're getting a 30k triple striker, and when you pair it up with yellow having cooler counter, this deck can take a very quick turn from being control to aggro. Speaking of which, we do run 2 of the Swift Retaliation coolers. Counter, if your leader card is yellow, negate the counter and play this card. Auto, when you play this card, draw 1 card, then if you have 6 or more cards in rest mode, draw 1 more card. Not much to say about this card that people don't know already, just an insane effect to draw multiple cards and counter, pair it up with a triple striker 30k, and it should be game over for your opponent. Going into our super combos, I did play 3 of Krillin Moments Before Comeback, a very generic good super combo that lets you put a card on the bottom of your deck and draw 2 cards. It's good for filtering through your deck and also putting cards like the 4-cost Syn from hand into your deck so you don't draw into it. And of course, I did play 1 of the Skill Steal Cheelai super combo. I ran this super combo because I wanted some sort of control variant of a super combo. And instead of Zamasu, I wanted to be able to control, maybe in the mirror match, a Meki without having to see Power of Super Saiyan. And of course, she's also able to rest a leader down, so they both kind of have their similar traits. However, the big difference that I also really liked about Skill Steal Cheelai is the other auto, which says if it's your turn, choose up to 1 of your opponent's skillless battle cards and KO it. Which is so insane in this deck because remember your 9-cost Syn Shenron Destruction Incarnate makes every card your opponent plays skillless, meaning that you're able to simply use Cheelai during a combo step to get rid of any Hatchak, Pan, or Kai SCR that they may play on your turn. And finally, speaking of SCRs, I decided to run Supreme Kai of Time Space-Time Unraveler. I think this SCR is extremely underrated in Syn Shenron. It really fixes all the problems Syn has, those problems being board removal and putting pressure on Unisons. We have various ways in the deck to put them in rest mode, both the Unisons and the battle cards. However, if they ever establish a very wide board, there's only a number of blockers we can activate. And for 2 energies, this card just fixes all of that. It takes care of the Unison and all battle cards. Not ignoring Barrier, however, at least you're dealing with a handful less of cards you have to worry about. When done correctly in timely manner, you can also use Supreme Kai of Time to clear the board, including Unison, and now your opponent has no answers to when you tap 6 and play all your dragons. They're all going to go straight to your battle area, they're not going to be put in rest mode, and they're not going to be sent to your hand because they will have no Unison to proc those free counterplays. On top of fixing the few weaknesses that Syn Shenron has as a deck, it also adds to all the benefits that Syn Shenron provides. For example, it says if you play it defensively that your opponent's leader card and Unison cards cannot attack for the turn. In this meta, everyone's expecting Pan, and in Syn Shenron specifically, no one's really expecting Supreme Kai of Time. So they're of course going to swing battle cards first, and then if you drop this Supreme Kai, they're going to be stuck in a position where they haven't attacked with their leader for like the past 3 turns. 1 because of the 4-cost Syn, 2 because of the Cheelai, and 3 because of Supreme Kai of Time. By that point, your opponent hasn't drawn about 3 cards, so it's going to make it that much easier for you to close them out in your turn 6. With that being said, that was the last card in my deck, so I will provide the last final picture for the whole deck profile. If you guys have any questions about the list or need more info about certain cards in the deck, let me know in the comments below, as well as any suggestions or other Shadow Dragons you guys want me to try in a future build. Other than that, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.